I spoke with a group of students who survived this deadly massacre. They are dealing with a whole lot of emotions, which now includes anger, after learning the FBI did not follow through with a crucial tip that could have prevented this tragedy from happening in the first place. The winds and the rain are actually more fierce than appear on camera because we're getting blocked by a building. You can imagine standing right out there by the water. The boat just got pounded by the heavy winds and the storm surge. Take a look at this boat right here behind me. This sailboat up on the side of the dock, the bottom of it, as you can see, just split in half. We got to the bottom of it and discovered the problem started right here inside the Broward County Clerk's office. The focus of that investigation now shifts to how he got a small key like this to open up the cuffs on not only his hands, but also shackled to his feet. This is just 2 days worth of trash picked up from the streets of Broward County alone. Everything from metal shopping carts to bricks to pieces of plywood. Right now, that worker is in critical condition at Jackson Memorial Hospital after plummeting about 5 stories to the ground below. This all happening right here at the Decoupage building off Collins Avenue. Now, we are on the back side of the building off Collins, and if we zoom in, you can see that piece of scaffolding in question. She says she was friends with Nicholas Krauth until he showed up here for school with knives in his lunch bag. Just one of many disturbing behaviors she claims she reported to school officials in the years leading up to this deadly massacre.
America's children are dying, and I don't want to be one of them.
As students ran away from the building that day, Ariana Lopez locked herself in a school closet and waited.
I want this to be fixed because my friends shouldn't have to go to school and stand in front of each other to block each other from bullets. I shouldn't have friends that are in the hospital because there are friends who died covered them.
She emerged to learn many of her friends were killed, and her former friend, Nicholas Krauth, was responsible.
No kid should have to go to school being scared that they're going to get shot by someone they know or don't know.
She knew Nicholas Krauth, was friends with him 3 years ago, but says that friendship quickly turned to fear.
Nick was not a kid that was bullied. He was not a kid who was harassed. He did the bullying and the harassing. He instilled fear in innocent people for fun.
She said he had an obsession with guns. She watched and worried as she says he started posting pictures to this social media account, showing a fascination with rifles and with killing animals. She said his obsession then turned to people.
Him verbally assaulting us, talking about killing us, doing things to our corpses, killing our parents, friends, and family, and it's like all of this was right there.
Did you report this to the school?
Yes. A ridiculous amount.
She says the school counselors recorded her concerns and encouraged her to report anything alarming. But Krauth remained a student until being expelled for getting into a fight.
I don't want to be angry because then he wins. I don't want to be upset because then he wins. For now, she says she's focusing on mourning. She's attending 2 funerals today alone. Now, we reach out to the schools to find out what happened to those reports. We haven't received a response yet. They're telling us they're getting a high volume of calls from the media, and they will respond to us as soon as they can. Live in Parkland tonight, Dan Krauth, NBC 6 News. Paramedics aren't responding to as many overdoses as this time last year, but they are using more of a life-saving drug to revive patients.
Car 94 to Miami, show me responding with Rescue 1.
Miami paramedics don't leave without it.
We're finding a lot of the patients are very close to just going into cardiac arrest.
The life-saving drug called naloxone, better known as Narcan, can help reverse an overdose.
There was pockets here that I would get 3-4 patients at a time.
They're using it on more people in South Florida than ever before, on people like Sean Thompson.
See, that used to say over, and then this side said dose.
His nickname's Overdose. He has it etched into his arms. How many times has Narcan saved your life?
It saved my life at least 3 or 4.
The only thing he carries on him, his own dose of the life-saving drug.
You pop it open, pump this in their nose, and 3 seconds, less than 5 seconds later, they come right back to life. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
But paramedics say Narcan's not working like it used to. Not when dealers are mixing heroin with powerful synthetics like fentanyl and carfentanil. Paramedics here would typically use just 1 dose of Narcan to revive someone who's overdosing. But with these new synthetic blends, they're having to use 3, even up to 4 times the typical amount. Nicole Hawkins knows firsthand.
People have used Narcan on me.
How many times?
17.
17 times? Hawkins has been in and out of jail on drug charges. You can see the toll the drugs have taken on her body over the years.
She says paramedics have used multiple doses of Narcan on her multiple times. So you've almost died 17 times.
No, I did. I woke up on life support and on a ventilator at UM.
It's a life-saving drug for many at a growing cost. In Miami alone, the city has spent more than 5 times the amount on Narcan than they did the year before. Taxpayers are helping to save lives.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
In fact, at 4 of the area's biggest fire departments in South Florida, what they spent on Narcan more than doubled in 2016 compared to the year before.
And that's the trickle effect. Everything then spirals after that.
More overdoses, more resources needed.
That requires more staffing on part of the fire department, police, the ER, the hospitals.
What's the price of life?
That's right. Absolutely.
I would say that the price of addiction also can take its toll.
And addicts know that. Addicts know the risk.
A single dose of Narcan costs a city around $40, and those costs are expected to get higher as the demand rises.
Things can change in a matter of seconds. Objects hitting your car, or you swerving to avoid them.
People don't walk away from something like this.
Stephanie Murray did. Here she is at just 13 years old.
It's definitely something that's really tough for a young adult to go through.
You say you remember everything.
But sometimes she wishes she could forget. She was in the passenger seat of her mom's minivan driving down I-95.
It was a horrific accident.
When this steel construction rod pierced her windshield and went straight through her body.
It was about 3 centimeters
3 centimeters.
from my heart.
I can't even imagine.
Neither could this Broward Sheriff Lieutenant. He's made it his passion that when on the streets, he looks for hazards.
It is a big deal. I mean, you have a duty.
Because he's lived it. He's Stephanie's father.
This is the actual rod that went through my daughter's chest.
Paramedics had to cut the rod in half to get his daughter Stephanie out of the car.
And to this day, she still has a piece of metal in her lung.
Community leaders called for action back then to make our streets safer.
How can we make the highways and streets a safer place for all of our citizens?
State laws changed, making it easier to report debris with Star FHP, adding road rangers, and tracking 911 calls made by cell phones. But it's still a dangerous problem. Drivers have been hit by paddles, even a crowbar in the past few months.
Your heart sinks to your stomach just to constantly hear that, something else has happened to someone else, and it wasn't just me.
The NBC6 investigators found accidents involving road debris have sharply increased in just the past 4 years in Miami and Broward counties.
These statistics are getting worse over the past 4 years, and that's a little disheartening.
I just can't believe how much stuff is here over 2 days.
Transportation officials gave us exclusive access.
This is about how much we get this time of year.
To show us how the problem's piling up.
Before the end of the week, this whole bin next to this will also be full.
Workers pick all this up from the roads every day.
We've got 4 crews a day, every day, that's out picking up debris.
This is just 2 days worth of trash picked up from the streets of Broward County alone. Everything from metal shopping carts to bricks to pieces of plywood.
It's a big, big problem.
How much trash do you find here in 1 year?
In Broward County alone, over 11,000 tons.
More than 11,000 tons.
Right.
And remember, this is just one county. While workers here do their part. At the police training course, you can learn what to do when behind the wheel.
There's debris. There's debris. I've got to do something. I've got to look up.
Every second counts to make a safe decision. A new study shows close to 40% of all deaths happened when a driver swerved to avoid a crash. Sometimes, it's better to drive straight ahead.
When you're going fast like that, maybe you're just going to have to drive right through it depending on what the object is.
That's what all the studies show, that sometimes it's safer just to hit the object than swerve around it.
Stephanie hopes it's a situation you won't run into if drivers tie down objects like this.
You could be part of the problem, but we all can be part of the solution.
She considers herself lucky. She lived to get married and has 2 little girls of her own, but still lives with the trauma of what happened.
Every little milestone in my life, I've always looked back and said, I could never, I might have not have been here.
she might not have been here. You can also get fined for not properly strapping down items to your car, anywhere between $200 to $500. Stephanie says stricter penalties and more enforcement could help deter drivers.